Welcome to the Explainer. Gambling used to be something you did on a trip to Vegas. Now, it's literally everywhere. It's on your phone, it's in your video games, it's even popping up in your banking app. So how on earth did we get here?
I mean, just think about it for a second. It used to be about, who wins the game, the final score. But now, it's so much more granular, it's immediate, it's constant. The action literally never has to stop, with apps offering you a chance to bet on every single moment of a game. And it's not just sports, not by a long shot. Our financial markets have kind of caught the same bug, right? This high-risk, high-reward fever. People aren't betting on company fundamentals anymore. They're betting on memes, on hype, on vibes. And it gets even crazier. We're now turning political events and world news into straight-up markets for speculation. Get this. One market saw over $200 million in bets on what Ukraine's president was going to wear. I am not kidding. But here's the real kicker, the one that's truly shocking. The casino isn't some building you have to drive to anymore. No, it's moved right into the apps we use to manage our money, our fintech and banking apps. The line is just completely gone. So yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? How did we get here? And what happens when every single spare moment of our day becomes another roll of the dice? Let's dig in.
Okay, so the first big piece of this puzzle really comes from Silicon Valley. See, about a decade ago, they figured out that the little tricks and mechanics from gambling are unbelievably good at keeping us hooked on our screens. So what'd they do? They started putting them, everywhere. It's basically a three-step playbook. Step 1, you inject these gambling mechanics into everyday apps to make the whole thing feel normal. Step 2, you get the next generation used to it by putting the same stuff in their favorite games. And step 3, the clever part, you do all this by operating just outside the law, in a legal gray area, so you don't have to deal with regulations. And this is where it gets really sneaky. They use these legal loopholes, right? A popular one is the sweepstakes casino. Here's how it works. You use real money to buy worthless gold coins, but then they give you free bonus cash. That bonus cash, that's what you can gamble with and cash out for real money. It's a clever trick that lets them say, hey, it's not technically gambling, so they can operate in states where it's illegal and even target people who aren't 21. And look, people aren't stupid. As this Redditor puts it so perfectly, it's a workaround that everyone sees right through. They're just adding an extra step with these fake coins to keep up this paper-thin legal argument that it's not real money gambling, even though, of course, it absolutely is. All right, so that's one part of the story. Now let's talk about the next massive shift, because this is where things get really wild. The line between investing and flat-out betting, it's basically been wiped away. We've turned our entire financial system into one giant super casino. And you can see this convergence happening in real time. Look at this. You've got investing apps like Robinhood getting into sports betting. And on the flip side, you have betting apps like FanDuel getting into stock trading. They're all rushing to the middle, becoming this one-stop shop for any kind of financial speculation you can dream of. And make no mistake, this has very real consequences. People are taking on record amounts of debt to invest. Regular folks are pouring into these incredibly high-risk lottery ticket-type products, like zero-day options. I mean, that's basically the stock market's version of betting on red or black at the roulette wheel. It's that fast and it's that risky. And if you want to know what your odds are in this new casino, look at this number. 0.04%. That is the tiny fraction of people trading these new meme coins who actually make any real money. It's a game that is literally designed for you to lose because the house takes a cut of every single trade. Okay, so we've seen how all this happened, how gambling has spread everywhere and merged with finance. But the big question is why? With all the obvious damage it causes, why does it keep growing? Well, the answer, as it so often is simple. There's an absolutely mind-boggling amount of money to be made. Ever since the Supreme Court opened the floodgates on sports betting back in 2018, the industry has just exploded. I mean, today, nearly half of all young men have an online sports betting account. And you have to remember, this is just what people are willing to admit on a survey, so the real number, it's probably even higher. And this isn't just fun and games. You can literally measure the financial devastation. One study did a pretty simple before and after look at states that legalize sports betting. The result? Personal bankruptcies jump by about 10% on average, right after those apps show up. So why does it keep happening? This quote right here gets to the absolute core of it. The amount of money these companies are throwing around is just so huge that it makes people forget any reservations they might have. You have this influencer, Nadeshot, just coming right out and saying it. For $100 million bucks? Yeah, my principles are for sale.
And you see this insane contradiction everywhere. Take a celebrity like Kevin Hart. On one hand, he's partnering with Chase Bank to promote financial literacy. Great. But at the exact same time, he's a paid spokesperson for DraftKings, an app that makes its money from people who, well, who could probably use a little more financial literacy. You just can't make this stuff up. Or how about this one? Joe Rogan, the biggest podcaster on the planet, will go on these long rants about how manipulative big pharma ads are. And he's got a point. But then his show is just packed with ads for DraftKings that use the exact same persuasive, emotional tactics to sell a product that can be every bit as addictive. And listen, comparing gambling to drug addiction isn't just some random thing I'm throwing out there. Experts say it. Heck, even guests on Joe Rogan's own show have said it. They make it crystal clear. Problem gambling is a serious, life-destroying addiction, and it has one of the highest suicide rates of any addiction out there. So, that really forces us to ask a pretty uncomfortable question, doesn't it? If problem gambling is just like a drug addiction, why is one something we condemn while the other is promoted and celebrated during the Super Bowl? Why does this one get a total pass? And at the end of the day, here's the ugly truth. You can pile up all the data in the world about ruined lives and broken families, but none of that stands a chance against the billions in profit for the casinos, the billions in tax money for the states, and the giant paychecks for the celebrities and influencers who are paid to keep the whole machine running. So, that's where we are. We've effectively taken the casino out of a building in Vegas and put it right into everyone's pocket. And we've connected it directly to their bank account, turning every part of life into a potential bet. You know, the truly tragic part of all this is that the solutions aren't that complicated. We're talking about basic rules for advertising, some simple legislative guardrails. But when there are literally billions of dollars on the table, what do you think the odds of change really are? As long as the house is making this much money, the game is going to go on.